7 rebounds. Texas victorious. Back to the studio and Doug Kazarian.
All right, John, Fran, thank you very much. Enjoyed the broadcast. Safe travels to you guys. Coming up tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. 4th-ranked Kansas hosting 20th-ranked Kentucky. Game day is at the Phog, and here's Jay Will with his prediction.
Jay Will, Kentucky or Kansas? RD, you only know where we are.
Ah, right there. Right there. Ooh, a little Danny Manning flavor for you. This was expensive.
Well, it's a good pick, obviously, to go with Kansas over Kentucky, but I find it surprising that sort of all the pressure is on the Jayhawks, certainly because of their struggles at times, although it's modest struggles. You can't fault them for losing at Iowa State. Really, more of the important issue was how they lost at Oklahoma State, and Bill Self said this, that it was a bit of a leadership vacuum, and he's going to be looking to see how his players rally around this game, because they're going to have to step up in a great environment. And I will tell you, Doug, I've covered games all over this country for over 2 decades. I don't think there's any place better than Phog Allen. I really believe I've lost some hearing in that building. Yeah, I think it's better than Cameron, better than Smith. Name them.
Seth Greenberg said something similar earlier this season when I was talking about that very same topic. But why don't we get you ripping off buttons and...
Jay makes a little bit more money than me. I got to keep my shirts.
Yeah, not that expensive, right. So that game coming up at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Meanwhile, by the way, Kansas has won 34 straight at Allen Fieldhouse, so speaks to what you were saying. Before that, 5 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, the great matchup between preseason All-Americans, Ben Simmons, Buddy Hield. A great opportunity here for us to see these 2 Player of the Year candidates.
Yeah, right now you could make a strong argument that this is 1-2. I think Buddy Hield is #1 position for National Player of the Year. He's already had his moment, even in a loss. 46 points in a triple overtime loss to Kansas, where they gave him a standing ovation after they beat Oklahoma. For Ben Simmons, if he comes up huge in this game, which he certainly is more than capable, and they knock off the #1 team in the country, that could be his moment for Ben Simmons to maybe move a little bit ahead of Oklahoma. Got to get to the NCAA tournament. There's never been a Wooden Award winner who's not played in the NCAA tournament.
Let's talk more about that. You said Ben Simmons' moment. This could be LSU's moment, one of many moments, because they really need to strengthen their tournament resume.
Yeah, they didn't do much in the non-conference, but in large part, Johnny Jones had told me, because, look, they weren't whole. They weren't healthy. Keith Hornsby wasn't healthy. Craig Victor, their transfer from Arizona, wasn't eligible yet. So they struggled. They didn't play a great schedule, by the way, but they struggled in some of their games that were comparable teams. Get to the SEC. They're playing much better basketball. Knock off Kentucky at home. Win at Vanderbilt when Vanderbilt was looking like they were going to play a little bit much better at the time. Now, I said this the last week, they got 4 games where we're going to judge LSU. This is #1, home A&M, at Kentucky, at South Carolina. How they fare in those 4 will likely determine where LSU plays in March.
I know Simmons and Hield are separated by a few years in age, but what are you hearing in terms of their NBA prospects? Obviously, one's more of a long-term project, and Hield's there. We've seen him grow since his freshman year.
Well, first of all, in terms of the draft, if Ben Simmons declares, it's over. #1 draft
More
pick.
than Brandon Ingram. Definitely.
It is not even close. In 2003, okay. LeBron James coming out, as soon as we heard Cleveland had the #1 draft pick, we knew he was going to Cleveland. I'm not comparing Simmons to James,
but he will be no-brainer variable.
No-brainer. Whoever gets the top pick after the lottery, they will select Ben Simmons. Buddy Hield, though, he's moving up the draft boards. By the way, he's playing. There's no question about that.
All right, that should be a great one again later today, 5 p.m. Eastern over on ESPN. Coming up right now on ESPN2, TCU and Tennessee should be a good one from Fort Worth. Mark Neely and Brendan Manzer have the call. Andy and I will see you at the Land Rover Halftime Report. Enjoy the game.
Welcome to the Big 12 SEC Challenge presented by Sonic from the newly renovated Ed and Ray Schollmeyer Arena in Fort Worth, Texas. Tennessee Volunteers taking on the TCU Horned Frogs, along with former Oklahoma State guard Brendan Manzer. I'm Mark Neely. A lot of great storylines in this Big 12 SEC Challenge, Brendan, but we get to see one of the top 10 scorers in the nation in Kevin Punter today.
Well, Kevin Punter put in the work in the offseason and trusted his coach Rick Barnes, and he's become one of the best scorers in all of America. He can drive it. He can knock down the three. He's 40% from there. He gets to the line. He's got a great mid-range game altogether.
Second in the SEC in scoring, 8th in the nation, and #5 among seniors this year is Kevin Punter with that 23 points per game average. And look at the starting lineups. Keep in mind, punter, a guy who has 3 30-plus point games this season. For TCU, Devontae Abram making his first start since 2013.
And it's rare to see a Rick Barnes team with not much size, as he's just in his first year here at Tennessee. But they're athletic. They'll run the floor. They're going to play fast. They're going to shoot the three. And that's why Abram is in the starting lineup for Trent Johnson. Was very good at Texas the other night. Wants his leadership and size to combat Tennessee and what they bring today.
Ball's in the road orange, TCU in the home white. This is Washburn reversing and scoring, and that's the way we start today.
And that's exactly what TCU will attempt to do the entire game this afternoon. Go through the post, get those touches inside, in particular to a guy like Chris Washburn.
Well, something Tennessee has to be used to, Brendan, because everybody's going to try to take advantage of that, aren't they? There's the bucket to tie the game at 2. Our first look at Kevin Punter.
And one of the things I love about his game is the mid-level areas. You saw right there coming off the down screen, just a pull-up and gets it to go.
Abram in and out. Offensive rebound. Washburn trying to go back up. He's fouled. Well, a return to the Lone Star State for Rick Barnes, who, of course, spent 17 seasons as the head coach in Austin for the University of Texas. Took all of about 48 hours for him to land in Knoxville in his first season with the Vols.
And it was great to visit with him last night, wasn't it? I mean, just such a gentleman, and you could tell he's settled in and told us how excited he is about the future of Tennessee basketball. And he is a guy that will do it first class. And I mean, he's a legend. Won a lot of ball games.
Washburn free throw makes it a 1-point game. Just a minute into this one from Fort Worth.
I'm interested to see how Tennessee can get this pace going, because TCU, Trent Johnson's team, are going to try to control pace.
In and out. Rebound, Abram.
And it's more difficult on the road to get the pace going faster, certainly, than it would be at home. And this is one way to do it.
Steal by Punter, trying to keep it along the sideline, but in that battle with Trent, loses out. Trent tip. Abram going back up is fouled by Robert Hubbs. Trent Johnson now in his 4th season here at Fort Worth. His team looking to snap a 5-game losing skid. Bit of a transition year when you lose arguably your best player, Kenrich Williams, to an ACL injury and out all season.
And then you also lose your backcourt because of graduation and Trey Ziegler and Kean Anderson. And Williams was going to be a huge piece to this basketball team. Versatile guy that they'll get back next year after the medical redshirt. But Trent Johnson's teams, I mean, they're right there. They're in games. It's just the Big 12, as you know, as good as anybody, Mark, so unforgiving night in and night out.
Well, Devontae Abram, a 63% foul shooter, knocks down both, and TCU with the 3-point lead.
See the ball in Punter's hands, and he's really had to play the point by default. Rick Barnes, this ball club, does not have a true point guard.
On the baseline, sealed off there. As Armani Moritz swung around. Mostella lost off the hands of Admiral Schofield. On the run, Brandon Parrish will go to the line. Then we see TCU in transition, trying to speed things up a little bit.
Trent Johnson, the field to put Abram in. Certainly would understand that he wanted to get his bulk for on the glass touches inside, running the break right there. Gives it up to Parrish and gets him to the line.
But you mentioned, I mean, in general, Brendan, you've got a team, TCU, that would like to play more in the half court, and the Tennessee team is going to try to push it as much as they can.
Throughout the entire game, and we'll touch on it, obviously. This is going to be a battle of pace. And gives TCU the best chance to win. I'll tell you what, TCU, they go to Lawrence a couple weeks ago. They hold the Jayhawks to 70 points. And I promise you, that is not easy to do. They hold Iowa State to 73. And part of that is good, solid help defense, but also slowing the game down and limiting possessions.
Mostella with a 3 ties it up.
And Mostella Good-looking young sophomore from Decatur, Alabama. And he comes in.